Hey, my IBMOR brothers, back again. This is a quick one. I wasn't planning on doing a video on this because I know how much vitriol it's going to attract because it's so controversial. One is because it involves a white man and a black girl. But shout out to Tareen Rain for having the cojones to actually do a video on it. And he did a Petty Pendergrass production about this. And I was reading through the comments and the typical feminist flair, protecting this little girl. Now, to recap the story, this was in the Asheville mall. And evidently, the woman behind him and the little girl, I guess these kids were harassing the white woman, and this guy just came in to break up the fight and kind of scatter the girls. I think there was like 12 girls that were actually harassing this lady. So he came in to break up the fight and kind of intercede. You can kind of see him standing in front of the lady and the little child. Now, I don't know what relationship he had with the lady and the little child. Could have been his wife, could have been just a random person. But these girls, instead of moving on or breaking it up, they actually followed them through the mall, evidently. And when they came outside, they continued to harass them. And you can see them surrounding them, and I'm not gonna call them animals, but I'm saying is they were nipping at him. They were yelling at him, they were pushing him, they were running up on him, and you see them circling him. And so when he had his back turned, one little girl pushed him from the back. And then as the camera moved away and moved back to him, you can see that little girl confronting him into his face. So he did the first thing. He probably pushed her a little too hard. He pushed her back far enough to intimidate her. Or she went flying like maybe 10 feet. And then when she regained her balance, she cocked her fist in a fighting stance and ran up on him. And I don't know whether it's reflex or he was pissed off or whatever it was. He punched her and down to the ground she went, and that's when the video cut off. Now the dude was arrested and charged with, I don't know if it was misdemeanor or felony of assault on a child, and I think it was assault on a woman, something like that. And then he was released. Now, coming from a man that has raised two black girls, and having 3 black grandsons, and having dealt with issues with girls that age and that size, you are expected to have some kind of restraint for a child. And normally that restraint comes from dealing with one child at a time and not 12. Had he grabbed her, then the others could have attacked him, and it could have gotten worse. Should he have hit her with a closed fist? I probably would not have. If I hit her, it'd probably have been a slap. But then again, in the moment, you can't tell somebody how they're going to defend themselves. Somebody runs at you with a closed fist in a fighting stance, you can never tell how you're going to react. Was the punch excessive? I believe, in my opinion, I believe so. But on the other hand, I've been taught, by the street. I wasn't taught by my parents. I was taught by the street. You don't run up on people that are bigger than you. And this is as a male, as a boy, even as a man. You don't run up on people that are bigger than you. And there should be a healthy fear about somebody that's bigger than you. This is nature. In nature, the rule is if you're bigger than it, you eat it. If it's bigger than you, it eats you. And this feminized society has taught little girls through cartoons and Disney princesses that no matter the size, if you're a woman, you can kick ass. And we brainwash little girls to the point that they think they can take on men 3 times their size. This man was 3 times her size. That little girl didn't weigh more than 120 pounds. This dude was at least 250. I think they were actually modest about him being 250. More like, he's closer to like 300 pounds if he's 6'5". But we're calling him a coward. We're calling him a savage. We're calling him all kinds of stuff because he did not use restraint. Like, he has no right to hit a little girl. Right has nothing to do with it. Women think that there's supposed to be rules of Queensberry, that you're in a ring. This is a formalized contest instead of being out there on the street. This is a random contact. This is a street fight, and everything goes out there on the street. Had that little girl had a knife and stabbed the dude, which is extremely possible, because it's not like she's a girl in the neighborhood and you know her. It's not like you went through metal detectors. Somebody that's 4'11" that's bold enough to run up on a guy that's 6'5" might have something. This is not a game. I don't know where people get this. This ain't no game. Women have this feeling that they're supposed to be, this is a game, fight your games with rules. That there's supposed to be some kind of measured amount of force. Now, does the law say there's supposed to be a measured amount of force? Sure. Now, the little girl was fortunate that she didn't strike her head, that she's not in a coma, that she's not paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of her life. Because that could have easily happened. Had that dude wound up with a punch instead of reacting, or he had been enraged and actually hit her more than once, we'd be talking about a different story. I just did a video about common sense, how common sense isn't common. Common sense would have told those little girls that this dude was 6'5" and probably could have hurt all of them instead of one of them, to leave him alone. Back off and leave him alone. Common sense should have told that little girl that this dude is 6'5" and 250 and could have thrown her through that window and did a lot more damage than he did. But these so-called unprotected black women are so emboldened that they don't think they can be touched or should be touched. They think they have the right to harass, talk to, hit, punch, spit on anybody they want, and there should be no repercussions. That the laws of the jungle do not apply to them. Now, I don't like seeing a little girl hit and knocked to the ground, especially by somebody that's much, much larger. But if had that been my daughter, I would let her know you're lucky and let that be a lesson. Not for this time, but for the next time. And the second thing is, if there was a guard, off-duty policeman, there to actually witness him punching that little girl, where was that off-duty policeman when those little girls were harassing that guy? This is not fun and games. This is not funny. And I'm tired of the fake outrage, because the old school women would have told those little girls they had no business doing what they're doing. And I don't care what color he was, because it could have been a black man. The result might have been the same. Don't give me this bullshit that he's white and he shouldn't have hit her, because had it been a 6'5" black man and done the same thing, the reaction would have been exactly the same. Don't cry for protection before you use common sense. Stop being stupid, because this could have easily have gone wrong. This little girl could have easily been in the morgue because people have been killed from one punch, or she could have been in the hospital in a coma from one punch. All because you want to taunt, because you think you're Billy Badass. I had an instructor tell me a long time ago, if you get into a fight, you have to expect that fight is to the death. Don't enter that ring, don't enter a fight unless you're willing to risk losing your life. This is not a sport because you're bored. That's what I would have told that little girl. That's what I would have told my daughters. And have told my daughters. Fights are not entertainment. But with that, I'm going to jump off of here. This is BGS out, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.